How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I want to talk about Ridley Scott's new movie, Napoleon. A personal look at the French military leader's origins and swift, ruthless climb to emperor, viewed through the prism of Napoleon's addictive, volatile relationship with his wife and one true love, Josephine. That's the plot for Ridley Scott's Napoleon. It stars Joaquin Phoenix, Vanessa Kirby, and along with a bunch of other people. One of them being playing Napoleon's brother that I recognized was Matthew Needham, and he was in House of the Dragon. Ridley Scott's Napoleon is actually a really fun epic when it's on the battlefield. There's a few different set pieces that are pretty breathtaking. I mean, nobody can deny that Ridley Scott can shoot a war and battle scene. If you've seen things from Gladiator to all kinds of stuff. I mean, Ridley Scott is an amazing director. Recently, I believe his last film was The Duel, or The Last Duel. I think it's The Last Duel, that he made with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Really solid film. If you haven't seen The Last Duel, I recommend checking that out. So I was excited. I'm a fan of Ridley Scott. I was excited to go and check out Napoleon. And I heard very mixed things about Napoleon. I heard not so good things. So I had very low expectations going into the film. That being said, the film is pretty solid. Joaquin Phoenix does a really good job playing Napoleon. All the scenes with him, which is every single scene, I think. There's very few scenes without Joaquin Phoenix in it. He does an amazing job. Vanessa Kirby does an amazing job as Josephine. It's very much of the point of view of Napoleon, though, so there's not a whole lot that she does on her own. There's only a handful of scenes where we just see Josephine. It's really Napoleon's story, but it's also the story of the love between him and Josephine, and the motivations and the ideas that Napoleon has, and the insecurities, really. I was happy, though. This very much isn't about insecurities of him being short. Every time that you see like a Napoleon anything in cultural history, it's always talking about how his short complex, there's very little of that, if any. I really only noticed one jab or one joke about him being short, and that was it, and it was very slight, and so I was happy about that, because it's always like a one note with Napoleon. It's always everyone always talks about how short he is, and that doesn't happen here, so I was happy about that. The set pieces in this movie, I would say there's at least 3 or 4 set pieces that are pretty big battle scenes. And those are all riveting. Those are all really fun and just awesome action. So if you're into action and set pieces, this movie has that in spades. It's great. I really did enjoy the story between Napoleon and Josephine, their romance, their love, and their complexities. Both of them having this need and want for each other, but it was complex, Clearly Napoleon's very insecure, and I think maybe Josephine as well. They're both just kind of insecure, and in some ways they both need each other. Very complex. A lot of the movie has to do with Napoleon needing an heir. So there's lots of things that go along with that, and Josephine seemingly not being able to produce one for him. So it's kind of going back to those kind of old school ideas about, having an heir, and how important it is to have a firstborn son, and all that type of stuff. So very old school. There's a lot of old school ideas in it, which makes sense, because, this is, I believe, the early 1800s. I think it starts in the late 1700s and goes up to the early 1800s. This is, like I said, I had very low expectations going into this film, and it really is not a bad movie. This movie has really bad reviews. I believe it has a 56 or something on Rotten Tomatoes, so people are destroying this film. It's really not a bad movie. One of the major criticisms of this film is that it's not very accurate as it comes to facts, as it comes to different things. Apparently a lot of it is written for the movie. Things like there's a shot where Napoleon shoots cannons at the pyramids in Egypt, and apparently that never happened. So, I mean, is that the biggest of deals? No, this is a movie. You should go in there knowing that this is a movie. It's not a documentary. It's, you know, it's a narrative film. So there's going to be, when it comes to dialogue, when it comes to certain stories and certain facts, they're not going to be facts. You know, this is a fabricated thing, but it very much gets at the heart of the story of Napoleon and Josephine, you know. So it's a story, and looking at it that way, and looking at it as one man's insecurities and like a need to go out and prove something to himself or to the world, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Napoleon. I thought it was a good time. The pacing of this movie is really good, actually. It moves along. There's always on to the next scene, without feeling rushed, because it is a 3 hour, or I think it's 2.5 hours, almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it is a fairly long film. It doesn't feel very long. The pacing of it, we're always on to the next scene. We're always changing. There's very exciting set pieces that are a lot of fun. There are some things that are brought into play and then you never see them again. Josephine, I believe, has 2 children in one scene, and then they're just never seen ever again. Not that I needed more of that, but you know, there's certain things that just kind of fall off and you never see. Overall, I did really like the film. If it's still in theaters, I highly recommend you go check it out. If it's available to rent, definitely worth renting. It's a beautiful movie, and it has amazing action, and all the acting is great, and it's a really solid film. I don't think it's a perfect film. I understand why some people are upset about it and aren't huge fans of it, but by no means is this a bad film. This is a really good Ridley Scott film, and it's worth seeing. So that is my review of Napoleon.